Good evening, gentlemen. I am Master Stengel, out here at Venusian Outpost number 7, field base. As you can see, it's been a long day in the field. And we're back to receive some good news. Now, this particular bit of good news comes from Lord Coxswain. He's a pretty tough, bully old chap. But, what can I say? You know, not all of us can survive an encounter with a great Venusian snort quite as well as he can. So I was very pleased to learn that we will be getting a limited number of Righteous Bisons coming into our camp here pretty soon. Now, we've lost a number of porters over the last few days, and, well, it's become clear that the old Righteous Bisons are not quite as powerful as we once hoped. Now, the great Dr. Grorbort had made himself essentially a carbine out of the original. Lightweight, very powerful, and can be fired quite continuously with its efficient water cooling system. Now, we love the infallible ether oscillators, but we decided that we wanted to put in our own ether oscillator into the Righteous Bison. Now, this particular ether oscillator comes from a much larger ray weapon. It itself is from a Moon Hater type weapon. We think it's from a prototype, we're not really sure. My colleagues and I had a few contacts in some other circles, and we decided to use them finally. Steve had to trade for one of his mechanical eyes, but that's okay, he had a spare. Now, we did get one prototype in, so I can show you what she looks like. Now, the magnetron is an ether oscillator. This particular one operates at about 2.4 gigahertz and has a very, very powerful primary and secondary focus. Now, the advantage to using a magnetron over a standard ether oscillating crystal like we're out here to find is that it has variable power and you can really crank up the power. Now, because of essentially it's a large size, the Righteous Bison will not be able to have this particular little beauty in the standard configuration. Like I said, the water cooling system was very famous in the Righteous Bison, and we're going to have to yank that sucker out. Now, if you look, you see that we have added the air cooling fins to this particular beast to try to keep her cool. We will be adding additional cooling fins and capacitors for the additional power load, as well as some other fun parts. Now, when you deal with a magnetron this powerful, it is really nice to have the variable power, so that way you can turn the power down, mow the lawn, make some popcorn, make some tea, or melt a Venusian savage's eye sockets out. Now, the only thing that this requires when we crank it up to the higher powers than the original Righteous Bison is a nice rectangular waveguide. When you look at most military models of raygun, the military models have several reflecting dishes, and that is very good for a very short-range, powerful weapon, or for people who are not very good marksmen. A waveguide will allow you to use a short-barreled weapon, such as the Righteous Bison, in a much more controlled marksman capacity. And to that end, we will be adding some fine gradational sights from our old surpluses in the days when we did not use such wonderful ether oscillators, and we will be doing all of this to, of course, secure the resources here in the wilds of Venus for our Mother Earth. Now, the boys and I have been talking, and there's been a lot of argument as to what to call our particular little lovely beast. Well, since I am the leading officer out here, and if you can call it that, it's kind of a gray area, I guess, working for the Colonial Expeditionary Forces as a civilian, but decided to name it the Woolly Wizen, because when you crank up the power on this baby, things will get wild and woolly. Now, the Wizen't, of course, you gentlemen should know what it is, because you are a fine, educated audience, and that is who I am hoping this transmission reaches. We will show you our progress as soon as we get a chance to, and as soon as our Righteous Bisons come in. And wish us luck. Make sure that you use a waveguide if one of these particular variants happens to fall into your hands, because the secondary radiation is murder. And if you happen to crank it up to a high power level and try to blast the Venusian Savage, you will need to replace your eyes, if not several other parts of your body. As a matter of fact, Steve, let me see your other mechanical eye. There we go. Alright. And you just engage it here. So, this is what several of your chaps will be wearing if you fail to follow the proper safety procedures with our little Swiss Army carbine. And, well, they haven't even come out with the 2-eye model yet, because apparently in Paris, goggles are now out of fashion. Not that we really care out here in the Venusian wilderness, because, well, when you break rocks all day, sometimes it's nice to have a little eye protection. However, I've always felt more inclined to go with the classics myself. So, gentlemen, I hope you all enjoyed our little talk, and I will be heading back out into the field. At this time, we would like to extend our personal thanks to the independent adventurer, Mr. Archibald Barkentwisp, whose own transmissions inspired us at Outpost number 7 to share our own ideas and variations on our limited supply of Righteous Bisons. Good luck to you, sir, and Godspeed.